You're watching Agenda at a time the opposition is protesting against the government for demonetization, and they say this policy against 500 rupee and 1000 rupee notes has killed more than 70 people. That's what they're saying, and that's why we see Parliament completely stalled. We'll just be speaking to our guest today on this. Leading the protest has been Trinamool Congress, and we'll be joined by their MP Choudhury. Here with me from the BJP, we have PN Vijay, national spokesperson, and also a person who has taken up this case to Supreme Court. We have Kislay Pandey, who is representing one of the people who died. Kanhaiya, who died in Hathras of Uttar Pradesh. He has taken up their case, and now he says he's also been approached by the family of the person who died in Delhi as well. So we'll just speak to our guests about whether these deaths can be directly linked to demonetization, or is it just a terrible tragedy and just been linked to demonetization because of the timing of it all. We'll be speaking to them in just a bit. First, just let's take a look at the numbers and the number of states that it's affected. So Parliament stalled due to the opposition that we are seeing. Our first talking point really is that the Supreme Court petition, and are there any such precedents for the court to get involved in something like this? Mr. Pandey, you are now representing the family. It's terrible tragedy what's happened in Hathras. Whose idea was it? The family decided that they are going to now ask for compensation, and they blame the government directly because all of the deaths can't really be linked. Some of them didn't happen in the ATM, didn't happen in the queue. Some people say that they were ill and it was stress which caused it. So how are you going to prove your point that this is directly linked to demonetization? Well,
the deceased was 70 years old, senior citizen of the country, and the son of the deceased approached me to fight his case before Honorable Apex Court. My contention would be that it is the decision of the government which created this kiosk, number one. Number two, that the decision of the government compelled us to join the queue right from 3:30 a.m. in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening, and this continued for 3 days. Finally, on the third day, he died in the queue due to overexertion. On the spot he died. Thereafter, it is the consequences of the decision of the government, and thereafter the government is liable to pay the monetary compensation for the deceased.
Right. Choudhury, I just wanted to point out to you a particular really terrible case, but I want to point out to you how it would be difficult to directly link it with demonetization. The case is of Banda, of a 4-year-old girl who died in a private hospital. And her father was the one, he's a daily wage laborer, and he was the one who had been going to the bank every day, to a co-op bank every day for last 3 days to get his money out. Now, the young girl, she was ill. They said that they couldn't pay the hospital soon enough, but it didn't take place in a bank, and yet it's been linked to demonetization. Do you think, how is the opposition, sir, directly linking all these deaths, more than 70 now, directly to demonetization?
No, as you said rightly, that more than 70 people have lost their lives ever since this demonetization began. You just mentioned a 4-year-old girl who could not be given treatment because the family had no money to pay the hospitals. Now, I was reading of a case in which one Shibu Nandi, a Bengal farmer, killed himself after he was unable to pay his farm laborers since he could not withdraw money from the banks. So these are all directly related to this harebrained scheme of Narendra Modi, where he suddenly, without any preparation, without any pre-thought, decided to demonetize 1,000 and 500 rupee notes, leaving millions of people cashless and stopping all their transactions for buying daily necessities, for paying hospital bills, for buying fertilizer, seeds, etc. So all this is related, and one fears that as this goes on and the situation shows no signs of easing, there will be both deaths and suicides. Some people may have died having suffered heart attacks while standing in the queue. Other people will die either committing suicide or to reasons related to this demonetization and their efforts to get cash from the government approved banks and all. It's in all a terrible situation.
Right, so I'll take that to the BJP. He says very clearly that it may not be in the queue, but you have also a suicide note from the case in Bengal, and I just wanted to point out to our viewers that the maximum cases, sir, have been in Uttar Pradesh. There have been 5 cases in Andhra Pradesh. In Bengal, we have seen 3 or more than that since there, because these are last time figures. But when you have a suicide note directly blaming the policy, Mr. Vijay, how can you say, and how can the government then distance itself from all these deaths, and it's a significant number?
I don't think we are distancing ourselves. Let's say, first of all, we are all human beings. And when we hear of these unfortunate deaths, we feel sorry. I feel sorry. I'm first a human being and then a BJP spokesperson. But I'd request viewers to look at it in some perspective. And if you don't mind, I'll just give some explanation. Demonetization, we felt, was a very good step. Many other steps we had done in the last 2.5 years, Benami Act, voluntary disclosure, we went after foreign money. Somehow we could not make a dent. And we were feeling that the 40 crore people in India, below the poverty line, were having a tremendous disadvantage. There is no point in India having 20 people in the Forbes 100 if our poor people. So Modi Saab felt that demonetization will level this and bring more prosperity. So there is, I feel 85 to 90% of the people are feeling demonetization is a good step. And frankly, I have not heard any opposition party give some good alternative for this. They're keeping on saying it was badly managed, etc.
Right.
So that point I want to emphasize. Please don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
But what about the deaths? It's a necessity.
Okay. Now, let me put it this way. If through my demonetization, I have prevented stone pelting totally to stop in Jammu and Kashmir, if through my demonetization 99% of girl students are able to attend the exam in Jammu and Kashmir, if through my demonetization the Maoists are on the run in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand.
But how are girls giving exams in Kashmir because of demonetization?
Because we have stopped the fund flow. We have stopped the forged currencies.
The militants.
The militants.
Okay.
There is anecdotal evidence that Pakistan was sending.
So
please look at the bigger picture. I'm sure the government is very unhappy, maybe probably announcing in the court for Saab to say that we are giving this monetary compensation. Not that a monetary compensation is going to compensate for a death. It's a human issue. But let's not confuse a particular human issue with a bigger national debate on demonetization. That's my request.
If the larger good goal or the larger good is stopping militancy in Kashmir alone, for that demonetization was not necessary. The Home Ministry should have been able to tackle with that. If the larger goal is tackling Maoist insurgency in certain states, this is not the way that can be done. Just because of a few Maoist pocket and trouble in Kashmir, you do not put the whole country into problem. I do not see one single economic benefit coming out of this. Prices of everything is falling. Gold has fallen. And I was just seeing a note that they are saying that gold sales have fallen by 75%. You know, this is the harvest season and farmers do not have money to buy fertilizers, seeds, insecticides or other farm requirements. Everybody has talked about the marriages. They have only allowed 2.5 lakhs for marriages, that too under stringent conditions. People in whose families marriages are being held are being put to terrible difficulty. But more than that, it is the economic consequence. One is that you have seen how the share markets have fallen. All the gains in 2016 have been wiped out in the share market when the Sensex fell below 26,000. The other thing is that there is every possibility that the GDP of India will fall by at least 1%, because all transactions are stopped. People have reduced buying. Consumption is going down. And as a result of it, there are no trade transactions, so there is no question of GDP rising. GDP will receive a hit. Now, nobody has been able to explain to me, excepting vague things, that this is to control black money, that how much black money will be controlled, whether the source of black money has been plugged. This is a harebrained scheme, this is a mad scheme that the government has undertaken. They have created a financial emergency in a peaceful situation, upsetting the whole nation.
Okay. Okay, sir, let me take it to the BJP, and of course, it has become very, very political, and of course we have management students in our audience who are also divided. Many of them support the government move completely. Some actually have some problems with it. We'll hear from them as well. But sir, how would you say that, you talked about the good things, which is militancy and all, but the Trinamool and the opposition is pointing out that the economic, and it's an economic move, economic consequences of what it's doing to the GDP, of what it's doing to gold prices, all of that, and also...
I'm extremely happy the opposition making these points, because as an economist I like to hear such points. I think it's a very professional way of talking about the subject. Now my point is that today about 8 lakh crores of liquidity has come into the banking system. You don't need a genius to say what will be the impact of this liquidity. Banks cannot keep this money, they have to lend the money. When they lend that type of money, already in the last 10 days, the 10-year bond has come down by 1%. We expect interest rates to fall by about 2.5% in this economy. Think of the effect. Now think of the common man. Just think of real estate. If real estate prices...
What about those rating agencies which are saying that the GDP will fall, that the growth rate will fall?
Our own estimate is that the growth rate, I think this is also, we hear a lot of equity research analysts, for the next 3 to 6 months, there will be a flattening of growth.
Yeah.
We don't expect any great
They're
fall.
actually saying 11 months.
Yeah. But then the new money comes into the system.
Okay.
We expect that interest rates in the economy will come down.
So the 5.6 lakh crore which has come until now, you are saying that will boost things.
That will have to boost.
Okay.
And also consumption.
So
I
both
want
of
to
you
talk about consumption. When real estate prices go down...
So I want to come back to the people actually.
Okay, sure,
I want to talk about the people and the deaths, because that's the thing we're talking about. That if it's 70 odd deaths, and Mr. Pandey, you have taken up, now you've taken up 2 families as well, there are others as well. Is there any legal precedent? What kind of intervention do you expect from the top court?
Of course, we are seeking for a direction for monetary compensation, but one thing I would like to highlight and would like to ask my senior brother as to how many corrupt politicians and bureaucrats he has seen in the queue. It is the common man, the poorest of the poor, resourceless, hopeless, helpless person is in the queue, and thereby resulting into death.
You want to respond to that?
Yes, I would be happy if some of those people came, but the problem is they were hiring their servants and their workers to go and stand in the queue.
Are you saying all of it?
Yes.
It means you are admitting my submission.
I'm not even admitting. I said in the beginning of this program, after 3-4 days, we found that it was not queue for cash, it was cash for queue.
No sir, are you saying that the people who died...
50 rupeya le rahe hain.
Vijay, are you saying the people
Aadhaar
who
card,
died?
the going rate was 50 rupeya.
I understand.
That is the ingenuity of Indians.
The big people are misusing number 1, number 2.
Now, I agree with you, Sheikh, on this. I don't mind.
And you have put
It is a
the country and the poorest people on the extreme
Mr. Vijay,
torture.
I want to just ask
That's
you,
why we call it a
are you
war.
saying the people who have died, they're all people who are
I
hired?
am not even saying anything. Don't put words into my mouth. I am not at all denying people are suffering, madam. I am also seeing.
Okay.
I am also on the roads. I am just saying, please don't blow it to a point that we get carried away from our main mission, which is demonetization. I'll tell you. I'll give you a simple example.
Okay.
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Gandhiji started the freedom struggle. Even my father left his position and joined the freedom struggle. How many people died? Could you have said Mahatma Gandhi was a criminal? He made so many people die. Now we have to think of bigger causes.
Okay,
I mean, let us get big. Let us
Okay,
be
we're going to
real.
take a short break on agenda
Let's
now.
get idealistic a little bit, madam.
Sir, we're going to come back. When we come back, we'll hear from the students. Do they actually believe and do they blame the government for these 70 deaths? The government, the opposition is protesting because of all these deaths that are taking place. Who's responsible for these people who have died? We'll ask the students as well of this management institute. Stay with us. We're coming to you from the Asia Pacific Management Institute, where we are talking about the deaths that have been caused since November 8th. The opposition directly blames the government. We also have the lawyer who is representing two of those families who have died and he's gone to Supreme Court. Supreme Court has also issued notice. But the government is raising the point that the deaths are tragic indeed, but can they be held responsible directly for such a policy decision which was taken, they say, for the larger good, which was cracking down on the black economy. We'll just ask the students as well on this. What did you want to say? Yeah.
My take is that the issue is with the old age people who are dying. There should be an alternative for them that the government should propose to the banks so that they are not made to stand in queues for long hours. And they get the required money.
That's a really good point. Mr. Vijay, if you see the list of people who have died, a lot of them, a majority of them are senior citizens.
On Saturday, you know what happened?
No, I'm talking about the
Saturday,
details of the
what
people who
this
died,
gentleman
sir.
said.
So do you think that that's
Wait,
a
1
valid
minute.
thing?
Saturday, the banks were open only for elderly people. That's
No, sir,
Saturday.
that didn't happen everywhere.
It was a directive given that existing customers and elderly senior citizens will be allowed.
And also the directives are not going down to the banks. That's a problem as well that we've
sorry,
seen.
madam,
That
but
NDTV has been reporting on
what
that.
This boy is saying is absolutely right.
Yeah.
Senior citizens should be given, I mean they should. But you know, you said directives are not going down.
Yeah, they're not going down. I went out
I mean,
to
to the extent
just
they are
outside Delhi.
responsible, I take the blame for it.
There are more than 70 people died.
Yeah.
But the spokesperson of BJP said government can't be blamed. So who is to blame for the deaths?
Who is to blame, sir? Who is to blame?
So can the crowd be blamed for all the deaths?
I didn't say. See, you're taking a very simplistic view of life. Now, that's why I said about the freedom struggle. Let's say there is a Indian army goes, a soldier dies. Will you say the army, the government of India is responsible for the soldier's death? Will you say that? I mean, there are unintended consequences. When culpability, you say, there is a difference between culpable homicide and this type of accidents.
Okay.
If it can be shown that the BJP was directly responsible for this man, I'd really be surprised.
Okay.
But there is unintended consequences are there, and we have to take a human view about it.
Sir, obviously no one asked a question to the opposition, so I just wanted to ask them, Choudhury, if people say that the opposition is the one which is politicizing deaths, how would you counter that? Because 70 people are dead, and yet Parliament, instead of constructively debating it in Parliament, why is it that Trinamool and Congress and the other opposition parties are politicizing the deaths, sir? How would you counter that?
This is not politicizing the death. The job of the opposition is to highlight the miseries and hardships and difficulties faced by the people, which is what we want to do. In the Rajya Sabha, the opposition demanded that the Prime Minister, who himself announced the demonetisation decision, should be present in the House and reply to the debate. The Prime Minister was nowhere to be seen. He is going to Goa, he is going to Agra, He is addressing meetings in several places. In Lok Sabha, all we wanted was that the discussion should take place under an adjournment motion, Rule 56, where there will be discussion and voting. The government does not want to face voting because it will show that the opposition is united and the government is divided. The government is being adamant in not allowing a discussion under adjournment motion. That's why the opposition is stalling. What else we can do when the government remains bullheaded, stubborn?
One last point over here. Yeah.
I'm economics professor here and just wanted to share few observations. I'm intrigued with the fact that we have so many well-wishers of poor people in India, from Mamata Banerjee to Mayawati. Then why on earth we have so many poor in India since last 70 years of independence? You know, it's very interesting. All of us are talking about...
Roy, I don't know whether if you heard the economics professor over here, why is it he is pointing out that there are so many of you who think pro-poor, who are taking up the cause of pro-poor. The professor wants to know the poverty problem hasn't been solved, so why are you attacking the government when they've taken a significant step?
I do not think that this is a significant step in favor of the poor, because I have not seen one single rich man stand in the queue for the notes. Not one single rich man have I seen. I haven't seen the Ambanis and the Adanis queuing up for the notes. I have seen the poor people standing for notes. I have seen agricultural laborer not getting their salaries. I have seen small vegetable vendors closing shop because they had no change to offer. So the poor are suffering. Narendra Modi is putting the poor through a grind in the name of helping the poor.
Okay, so obviously we are not gonna see you and the opposition agreeing on this. We're totally out of time. Choudhury, PN Vijay, and of course Kislay Pandey, and of course the students and staff here of the Management Institute. Thank you all for joining us here on Agenda. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.